Hi guys, okay, so you're year 13 and you've had your grades taken out of your control. What should you be focusing on? Well, what you should be focusing on is getting ready for university, whether you know where you're going to or not right now. Now there's loads of ways that you can use this time now that you have to start getting ready for uni. You can start working on your sick dance moves for Freshers Week. You can start bulk buying on ASOS so you look like a legend on campus.
I saw Katie Heron wearing army pants and flip-flops, so I bought army pants and flip-flops.
And don't get me wrong, things like that are really important to get ready, but this is not what I'm going to be talking about in this video. What I'm going to be talking about is how to get yourself learning ready for university. So in this video, I'm going to be breaking it down into two sections. Firstly, why you should get yourself learning ready for university, and secondly, how you should be getting yourself learning ready for university. So stay tuned. Okay, so the pressure's off with the A-level grades at the moment. It's out of your control, and suddenly you have a lot more time on your hands and a bit less of a direction of what you should be focusing on. In my opinion, what your focus should be, instead of revising for those exams that are no longer happening, is to change your focus to starting to become an independent learner. This is essentially what this YouTube channel is about. So if that sounds interesting, I've got loads of content I've already made on that, and we're going to be making lots more content in the future. If that sounds useful, hit that subscribe button. Why number one is get yourself ready for the university style of learning. Now, in order to illustrate this why, I'm going to tell you my story about what happened going from school to university, so you hopefully don't repeat the same mistake that I did. Now, I essentially did pretty well at school. I got good grades and I got into my university of choice. And then I got to university. Although I'd heard that things would be different and less structured, I wasn't ready for how different and less structured it was. I essentially had no internal drive or ability to learn by myself. I was completely dependent on the teachers and being given specific things that I needed to do in order to learn. So essentially what that meant was, for my whole first year, I kind of dossed around. I thought I was working hard and learning, but in fact I wasn't, because at the end of my first year, I scraped by on about 42%. I was 2% away from failing the year. So I went away for my first year summer holidays. I thought, oh, well, I've just had a shocker. It'll be fine next year. I'm sure it'll be okay. Cut to the end of my first term of my second year, and we had 2 more exams, and I was one of 2 people out of about 140 people in our year to fail both of those exams. I literally got something like 30% in both of them. Now, this was a massive wake-up call, because I was used to being relatively smart and performing relatively well in my class. So I went through this massive changing process, and this massive realization that, wow, I'm not maybe as good as I thought I was, and that was really tough. And for me, that was the point that I started becoming an independent learner. Now, I was lucky enough that that was enough of a wake-up call for me to actually get a 2-1 at the end of my uni, because I was on about a third before that. But I see that as a really, really important starting point in my university career as well as entire life, realizing that I needed to start being a little bit more savvy and a little bit more autonomous with my learning, rather than waiting for people to give me what I needed to know. So why have I told you that story? Because you don't need to wait a year and a half into your university experience. You don't need to wait a month and a half into your university experience to have that realization that you need to start becoming an independent learner. You can do it right now. You've got all this time, and later on in the video, once I've gone through the other 2 whys, I'll show you how you can start your journey now. Why number 2 is to get a head start on the content that you're going to be covering in your university course. Again, I'm going to show you how to do that later. But the reason why you should do that is that it is a massive shock to the system, the amount of information and content that you have to cover at university compared to school. If you think A-levels is a lot, just wait till university. It's this almost never-ending expanse of information and knowledge and learning that you're expected to wade your way through. So getting a head start on that now is going to do you massive favors. You're also going to be able to have the freedom to look at the bits of your course that are super interesting. So let's say you're a massive history buff, you're no longer going to be stuck to the course content and ticking a box of criteria that someone else has set for you. You can read around the subject, you can learn about the stories and the people and the accounts of what happened in, let's say, World War II. You can essentially start looking at what's really interesting, look at YouTube videos as well, and find out more about what's out there in your subject. And by doing that, that's going to start developing a passion for your subjects, hopefully, that will carry you through your entire 3 or 4 years of university. And reason number 3 isn't directly related to university, but it's directed to your entire life. For me, learning to become an independent learner has been hands down the single most important skill I've ever learned to make my life better and more exciting. If I didn't have the drive and knowledge to learn things, I wouldn't have been able to do all the things that I have loved in my life so far. Like making this YouTube channel. I'm even challenging myself at the moment to learn Spanish in 3 months. If you're interested in learning how I do that, click on that link above. But this drive and ability to absorb information and knowledge and experiences essentially just makes my life more exciting and better and varied. So this is your time now, with this extra free time, is to start your journey on becoming an independent learner as well. Okay, so that's my rant over, that's my pitch on why you should start getting learning ready for university. Now, how are you gonna actually do that? This is the brass tacks. Way number 1 is to start reading around your subject. Of course, if your work is set school for you and homework and things like that, you should definitely finish off your course, and that's gonna really help you towards university as well, because you're gonna need those basic building blocks. But you've also got loads of time to read around the subject, and as I said before, find out some really interesting stuff. One way that you can do that is, firstly, really simply, go on to the university course that you're either going on or thinking of going on, see what's happening on that course, even a rough outline is fine, and then just researching that. And there's loads of ways that you can do that. There's loads of free resources and ones you can pay for to start brushing up on some really interesting stuff. Talking books. For instance, I'm in my teenager room right now, and here are 2 books that I read in order to get ready for university. But also look at podcasts within your subject. Look at academic papers on Google that are available to you. Look on online courses, like on websites like Udemy. All of these resources are really good places to start that journey of opening your mind to the wider ocean that is that subject. I'm getting quite philosophical on this episode, I think. How number 2 is start to learn deeper how you learn. Now, you're at A-level, you probably have a relatively good system of learning that just about works. I would say dig even deeper to this. So maybe you have certain study techniques that you rely on more or particularly like, but what this is a really good opportunity to do now is test and expand your learning arsenal. Because there's loads of new techniques and even tweaks to the techniques that you're using that is going to accelerate your learning. So let's say you like to do mind maps. In fact, there's loads of theories on how to make mind maps more efficient. Same with cue cards. I found that the students I was teaching using cue cards weren't actually using it in the optimal way. Are you good at tracking your progress of your learning over time? Because if you're not, that is something that is absolutely essential to becoming an independent learner. And how number 3 is to start to build your willpower with your work. Now, I'm reading a lot of Reddit posts and Instagram posts and memes about how a lot of you guys are struggling a lot with actually sitting down with the work by yourself and concentrating. Some even saying they're struggling with even 10 minutes. And that's completely understandable, because this is totally new, this environment. You've literally just been chucked in the deep end, and suddenly you've been divorced from all of your learning structure that you've been used to for the last 17, 18 years. So right now it's going to feel a little bit clunky just sitting down and reading information and trying to learn it. That's totally natural. So if you're losing focus quicker than you'd like, do know that focus and willpower and concentration is a skill that you can learn like anything else. So my advice would be, if you find yourself getting bored really quickly with your work and you're losing concentration looking at your phone and looking out the window, just keep going a little bit more every day. If you can only properly concentrate for 15 minutes, push it to 25 minutes one day, then push that 25 minutes to 35 minutes until, as you keep building that concentration and willpower, it's gonna feel a lot more natural. And then you'll have the ability to crack out 6, 7, maybe even 8 hours a day if you so wanted to. Okay, so that is my pitch of why you should become learning ready now for university in year 13 and how you can do it. I'm going to be doing a lot more content like this on the channel, so again, if that sounds interesting, subscribe to get notified of those. We've got weekly videos coming out. And also, if there's anything I've missed in terms of why or how you can start becoming a university learner, comment below. I'm going to be answering and engaging with every single comment that comes through to help you through this period. Until next week, see you next time.